Hi, welcome to this Fusion 360 tutorial. Today we're going to look at the sheet metal features within Fusion 360. As you can see on screen, I've created 4 challenges or activities which we can work through, which will either introduce or develop your existing knowledge of features. Any of the files, the completed models, or any documentation can be found in the description below. So what we're going to do now is jump over to Fusion 360. So we're in Fusion, and what you can see on here is the first challenge. So what we're going to go through is how to set up this sheet metal part and how to create what are called flanges, which you can see around the edge of this design, and also the base is classed as a flange as well. So we're going to go up to plus, and we're going to create a sketch in a normal way by clicking on sketch, and I'm going to create one on this top plane. I'm going to create a center rectangle of 50 millimeters by 50, and I'm using the tab key on the keyboard to go between those and click enter. Normally, if I wanted to turn this into a 3D shape, I would use any feature actually around here, but I could use the extrude and extrude this up. Okay, the thickness I want to start my design. However, what we've got to do when we're creating a sheet metal part is go up to sheet metal and create what's called a flange. I'm going to select this design I've created, and if I go to the front, I'm just going to show you, just move this towards one side. What we've got here is side 1. That will create the design above the sketch. If you go to side 2, it goes below, and if you've got symmetric, that goes either side. So if this is a 3 millimeter sheet metal design, it's going to do 1.5 either side. So what I'm going to do is just do a 2-sided, and that's going to go on the underneath of the sketch. Here I've got different materials in inches and millimeters, and if I look at the default, for example, in millimeters, it tells me that's 2.5 millimeters thick, and it also looks at the K factor, okay, which is to do with the bends and thicknesses, and also you can see here we've got some other dimensions as well. But as an introduction, we're going to keep to this simple default. I can show you later on how to change this as well, but we're going to go for the default option. What we're going to do now is add some flanges. And if you hover over the flange tool here, or go create flange, it will give you a bit of a preview of what the tool is used for. So I'm going to click flange, and I'm going to select this edge here. And I'm just going to drag this up. And as you can see, as I drag, it's creating a flange on that particular part. And what we've got is a dimension of 13 millimeters as I drag, and it changes here as well. I can also change the angle, as you can see, as well as the height of that flange. So what I'm going to do is go to type in 20, and we want that at 90 degrees. If I come to this front view and I turn on my sketch actually and just rotate this, you'll see what some of these other options do. So we've got the height of the unit angle. Okay, what this is actually is called the full edge. You do have some other options which we're going to go through in a minute, and we'll create those around this design. But for now, what we've got is the height. So the height is determined in a number of different ways. We've got the outer faces, and as you can see with this sort of image or icon here, okay, that will go from the outer faces and dimension that up. Okay, and we're going 20 millimeters. If we go to the inner faces, that looks at the inner face. Here, it goes 20 mil. Okay, so that's obviously 20 mil from there, and in addition to that, the total height will be the thickness of the material. Okay, if we go tangent to the bend, that will then, as it suggests, looks at this bend here and goes up 20 millimeters. So we're just going to use the inner face one, so from this inner face up here. You then got some other options. So at the moment it's inside, so that's bending and creating this feature inside of my sketch, like so. And if I created one on the other side using the same technique, I would have the flanges within 50 millimeters. That's my original sketch. So that's on the inside. If I go to the outside, and I've got this sketch here, that face, the inner face, lines up with the sketch, as you can see here. So it's gone on the outside of my sketch. So that's adding, in this instance, 2.5 millimeters, okay, outside of my sketch. If we go adjacent, that basically looks at the radius, this internal radius, and aligns that up with my sketch. When I go tangent, that looks on the outside radius and lines that up with my sketch. So again, you've got a few different options, and it will all depend on what you're creating, and especially if you're going to create two separate sheet metal parts that are going to go together, you do need to take this into account. You've also got flip, which will basically, okay, if we go to inside, we can flip this, as you can see, up and down. So if I wanted the bends to go down instead of up, okay, I can just flip that there. And I click on this house just to spin round. What we're going to do then is we're going to click on the plus, and we're going to add another flange here. Now, because I'm doing this within the same feature, it's going to keep these details, and that's important. It's going to keep the height, the angle, and these other details here. And again, if I click flip, it's going to, both those flanges are going to follow. Okay, and that's important to know. However, the first one is a full flange. If you go to symmetric and drag this in, you will see the distance here, 15 millimeters, is from that edge there, okay, or surface, and again from the back surface, and it's going in, okay, 15 millimeters or 5 or whatever I decide to do. Once again, it's going inside because I've determined that, okay, when I was doing this one here, and all these are linked together in terms of these features or settings, should we say. So that is what's symmetric. So that allows me to pull in, and the distance I pull that in is the same on both sides. If you go plus this time and create a design on there or flange, I'm going to go into two-sided. So this is very similar to symmetric, but it gives me a bit of another option where I can drag this side in a certain dimension. And if we just move this over, what we can do then is grab this side, and I can actually do that a different dimension. So it doesn't have to be the same on both sides. Okay, and of course it depends on what you're trying to create, but I've got full option there of sliding that up and down. I could type it in here, or I could type it in here as well. So I could go 15 on that one and 25 on that one, for example. Okay, all depends on what options you want. So that's the two-sided. So we've gone full, symmetric, same on both sides. Two-sided allows me to control both that. And the last option we've got here, if we click this one, is the two offset. And what that would do, okay, is it's very similar. That will allow me to do a two offset. And if I just zoom out so I can grab that arrow, okay, as you can see in here, it's very, very similar to the two-sided, okay. But what we're doing on this two offset is the distance, okay, from the edge we're controlling. Whereas the two-sided, okay, the distance is from the middle of the sketch, okay, or the middle of that feature. So very, very similar. You get pretty much similar results, okay. Now, because we've done this in the same flange feature, all of these, okay, heights will be the same, okay, whether it's inside, outside the sketch, or where it's taken the height from, and the angle and the direction will all be the same. If we click OK, we've then created this design here. Very similar to what I had on my screen at the start. If I wanted to, I could right click on this, and I'm going to delete that last one and click OK. So all those are 20 millimeters. If I wanted to create a flange here, and I wanted it to be a different angle to these or a different height, I've now can do that because I've created a separate feature, okay, and I can go along here and I can adjust this, okay. Now you've got to be careful, like I've just done there, I flipped it right around and it starts to come up with an error, okay. So I've got to be careful when you're using some of these features, but there you go. So this is now an independent feature, an independent flange, and I've got full control again up here, and I've also got control down here. All right, so that's important to note that if you want to create flanges that are different angles and are independent, you will need to create single flange features, or if you want them to be the same in terms of the height, angles, and where they are created in terms of sketch, then of course you can add them within a single feature. So there you go. Quite quickly we've looked at how to create a base flange and the 4 sort of different types, and we've also looked at how to separate those as well. The other thing we could do, if we go up to here and click on that, we've then got the options where we're looking at the sheet rules. So that's telling me the initial sheet rules that we've got. And what we can do, we've also got a library here where we can change, go in there and actually go, well, what I don't want is, I don't want it to be that anymore. I can go in here and I can change it. And as you can see, that would change to, rather than 2.5 millimeters, it changes to 2 millimeters. So once you've created it, if you've made a mistake at the beginning, you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. The rules are up here, which you can go in and edit, and then you can change those, and everything will then update. Now, if you do that later on, what you've got to take into account is if you've got another part which this connects to, you may have to adjust some features like sketch or the height and things like that, because you have changed, say, the thickness of that sheet metal part. Once you've mastered the different types of flanges within a sheet metal part, you can very quickly and easily create very complex designs. So if I quickly show you, we go up to flange and we select using control this top edge of this base flange here. What I'm going to do is drag this up. I'm going to stick to the simple full edge, so that's going to take that full edge there and create a flange. I've dragged that up, and because I've selected all them at once and it's in the same set, it's going to affect all of these at the same time. But you can see quickly I've created 4 sides or 4 flanges. I've got different options here which we've gone through before, and I'm just going to keep it at those options for now and click OK. If I then come out of that and click flange again, I once again select these edges or in edges of the flanges that I've just created and drag again, you'll see what will happen. It'll add additional flanges to that, and again I can change the angle and I can bring that up to whatever sort of dimensions and shapes I want and click OK. And as you can see there, very quickly, within seconds, I've created quite a complex design. And you could keep on going adding to this. So if we go to create again, and you don't have to select all of these at once, especially if you want to adjust them individually and do different designs, but I'm going to grab that one again and I'm going to grab that and pull that out. And if I just zoom out actually, so if I click and zoom out, and I can just change that angle. Go to the right angle and we'll grab that and just pull that down to here so you can see. And what I'm going to do actually is increase that and click OK. And again, I'm creating sets now of these. So you can see there, very quickly, I've got this very complex sort of design. And if we go up to create flatten part or pattern, and I select that to be the fixed face and click OK. After a few seconds, there you go, it's created a net. Very simply, very quickly, and that can be exported for manufacturing. Thanks for watching, and if you found this content helpful, please click like and subscribe, and also check out any other resources and videos created using the links in the description. I'll see you on the next one.